Well, hello there, welcome to the Silverstone circuit for Season 4, Round 9 of my F1 2012 career mode. I am Lovespuds, and today we need to finish first, as I had a half-decent qualifying session. Got through Q1 and Q2 pretty easily, so I do have some decent pace around this circuit like I did last year. Except this Q3 session was a little bit dodgy. Towards the end of Sector 1, as you will see in a moment. And I did go on a lap after this, but Mark Webber decided he'd get in my way quite a bit, so that ruined my lap. And there was no point going out for another lap after that, because I would want to start the race on the freshest tyres possible. So 30 seconds, and for some reason Kimi was just hanging around in my way. I don't know if he span and went over the whole, cut the corner massively, cut the whole hairpin type looking thing of Luffield and Woodcote and things like that. But yeah, that was kind of weird. That actually kind of put me off for the rest of the lap. So I was like thinking at the back of my mind, what the hell was he doing there? How did he even get there? Unless he was part of the group who was ahead there in front of me. So that was just kind of weird, but I still managed to get a half decent second sector time of 1:08.8. Got a bit wide here as well, so not a perfect lap by any stretch of the imagination, but still pretty quick to keep up with this Legend AI. So yeah, so far I'm half a second or so in front of Alonso, but by the end of the session I did end up a 10th off, and if Mark Webber wasn't in the way I probably would have managed to get pole, but still it's fine, I'm happy with that. Yep, my home Grand Prix, try not to take any unnecessary risks. Third is a pretty decent position to be in anyway, so let's see what we can do. So getting right up into the back of Alonso here. The speed of them being so slow in these first couple of corners does always catch me out quite a bit. I either brake too early or brake too late. Got the Lotus and the Mercedes getting in on the act. Going to try and go around the outside of Alonso here, which I managed to pull off. There we go. So now all I need to do is chase down Grosjean. Don't need to rush too much. I do have pretty good pace around this track, so he's not going to get away from me anytime soon. I'm just saving my curves up for the opportune moment to get past him. Just going to hang in his slipstream. Planning to use the curves on the straight after Maggots and Beckett's. Get straight on the curves as come out through Chapel. Get a half decent line through there. Stay in his slipstream. Smash that curves. Oh, I'd already used a bit up before that, so never mind. But I'm going to make an inside move in around Stowe here. Pull that off nicely. There we go, taking the lead just before the end of the first lap. 12 more laps to go. So let's do this thing. My main rival stay in this race is Rosberg in terms of the championship, and it looks like he's definitely not in the top 4, so that is a very good start. If Jensen could be near the top, that would be wonderful to help with the constructors, but I'm not holding my breath. I don't know where Rosberg is, that's the only person I need to concentrate on. Grosjean, Alonso and Raikkonen are still a threat though in the championship, though not as much as Rosberg is at the moment. But that's fine, as long as they are all fighting behind me, and that's all that matters at the moment. Then I might be able to stretch out a little bit of a lead. Hopefully have a race or two in hand, then I can then I don't have to worry too much about a couple of bad races I might have in the future, because it still hasn't rained yet in this season, apart from that one splash of rain in practice. Oh no, actually it was the end of qualifying Q3 in Monaco, where it started to rain at the end of that one. But that's the only time I've actually seen rain so far. So yeah, it's going to come up eventually. It's probably going to end up raining at Hungary, or even worse at Spa in Belgium. Wouldn't surprise me. But the probability of rain is just going to keep going up until it actually happens. Shut up, phone. That's the second time I've been interrupted by a phone call. So I did try and record this a few minutes ago. Well, let's say a few minutes ago. More like 10 minutes ago. I had a phone call then, and then he had a phone call then. Just now, but luckily it's an unknown number, and I don't answer unknown numbers. Because it's usually someone trying to sell me something. But anyway, hopefully we've got no more interruptions. The dogs are being quiet outside, so they're not barking away. Not that you can hear them that much over the microphone, which is pretty good. But anyway, back to racing, back to Formula 1, and just a couple of bits of news over the last couple of days. Pirelli are meant to be bringing softer tyres to Hungary. Just a quick look at that. I did read it beforehand, but I just need to refresh to make sure I get this right. Yes, Grosjean's going to try and come back, but it's not going to happen. No, not today. My front left tyre does seem to be a bit hot. There's a lot of load on that tyre anyway, so I'm not too surprised. But yeah, Pirelli has revised its choice of tyres. It initially planned to bring hard and medium tyres, which Lotus criticises as very conservative, and now they're going to bring soft and medium for the race that's on the 28th. The fact that they had to change the construction of tyres recently, following the multiple failures at the British Grand Prix, it means that softer rubber could be used, because it's more of a 2012 construction. Obviously, I don't think Red Bull and Mercedes are going to be quite as happy with that as they would have wanted the conservative tyre. But it does mean Lotus, Ferrari and Force India can get back into the mix like they were a couple of races ago. So, you know, we're not entirely sure which cars are the best cars, because they keep changing the tyres. Which is quite interesting really, but not good for the engineers, I suppose. They all have very good pace, it's just tyre management, which is a shame. Shame it's all about that. But there you go. Pirelli were told to make the racing more exciting, so what else can they do? They make the rubber softer. They do everything in their power. But yes, they get it wrong, but they're only doing what they were told. So it's a bit of a shame. They are blamed 100%. I think the blame is more nearly 50-50 in terms of the sports governing body and the tyre manufacturer.
That was the fastest lap of the race. Keep that up.
But there you go. Setting the fastest lap there, 1:35.5, which probably will be beaten somewhere along the line. It's the only the early stages of the race, so it's absolutely fine. I think Jensen's fallen back quite a bit. That's not good. I have a bit of a train behind me, so I expect Alonso and Grosjean are going to switch places a couple of times in the DRS zone. Hey ho. And yeah, last time I was talking about the Formula 1 bosses banning television reporters and cameramen from the pit lane during qualifying and the race. They have now extended it to banning them from all on-track sessions, so you know the reporters can't even look at it during during practice now, which is a bit of a shame really, because you don't get all those close-up views. You're now going to have to just try and zoom in with the camera as much as you can, and rely on photographs from the photo still journalists that are actually still allowed in the pit lane during the practice sessions. You can't have rolling TV cameras, but you can have people taking photographs, which is what? That's still pretty much a danger when a lot of cameras are wireless these days. Yeah, as you can see, I did get held up in the pits there. But it wasn't too bad. It's not as bad as Valencia. Jesus. Half the time than it was in Valencia. So I should be alright. Might mean I have to get past Grosjean again. But we can do that. Done it once, we can do it again. And my performance on the so-called slower tyre does seem to be pretty decent most of the time. So it's all good so far. We just have to have a half decent outlet. We don't care about the other people running on full revs. I suspect they would be. They usually do tend to change up to a faster rev when the pit stop phase comes along, just so they can get that extra bit of advantage if possible. But we'll see. Yeah, also another news, Sauber are very much in trouble. I don't know how much trouble, because they're not going to say it, but Peter Sauber, who is the owner, obviously, has described the position as painful and embarrassing, so they're going to need to look for investors or entice more investors in. Worst case scenario, they could end up selling up, which has happened before in 2005 when he sold out to BMW. They still managed to keep the Sauber name in there somewhere, which was quite nice of them. Don't know how well it would work the second time around, but I assume he would still be in sort of the joint owner or something if someone else came along to invest some money. There's been rumours of a buyout, especially from Chelsea owner Roman Abramovich and fellow Russian Boris Rottenberg, who owns a bank along with his brother. So they do have options, but they're more like Russian options at the moment, which isn't too bad. They have a shit ton of money over there, some of those oligarchs. They're going to do the move around the outside of Grosjean. That's not really a corner for overtaking, but you know, it's definitely possible in a video game. I'm sure it's possible in real life as well. You've got to have some balls to do that though. But as you can see, I got the lead back. I did expect to, so even though I lost out in pit stops, I still have pretty good pace, especially over Grosjean. Rosberg has moved up to third though, which is slightly irritating, but as long as he stays in third rather than second, I can get a nice bit of advantage over him, even though it's only a few points difference. And every little helps. These points could help by the end of the year. Yeah, Alonso fell back to fourth, which is unfortunate. Looks like Jensen's actually made up some ground though. You can just see his yellow dot moving around there. He looks like he might be in 5th or 6th, which would be brilliant. It would really help in the constructors, seeing as we are starting to fall behind a bit. There we go. Yeah, back on the Sauber issue. See Bernie Ecclestone sort of weighed in a bit. He had his opinion on it. He says that he hopes that Sauber can resolve their current financial plight, but he won't personally be stepping in to bail them out, which is fair enough. You can't really step in and bail out every team that had financial issues. even if it is a pretty decent team like Sauber, who have had their successes over the years, but not really been able to fight at the top of the field consistently. It would be sad to see them go, that's for sure. Not as definitely much sadder than it was to see HRT go. I mean, does anyone miss HRT? I mean, I don't. As much as I liked having more cars on the grid, you know, it's survival of the fittest in F1. Well, survival of the people with most money. As with everything in this world, in the world of sport most of the time, team sports. So, yeah, it'd be really unfortunate if they ended up folding at some point. But yeah, other than that, there's not much else going on. There's a bit of gossip going around. Yeah, Jenson Button saying it'll be a miracle if McLaren won a race this season, which is not surprising, really. I mean, especially when McLaren have turned their attentions to 2014, and they are confident that the mistakes that they made the current car will not be repeated in 2014. They hopefully they won't be embarrassed next year, especially making that sort of statement. But they should be alright. I have confidence in McLaren that they can actually come back and do something. Although, to be fair, they haven't really particularly been the same since they started making road cars, I suppose. Especially with their last Constructors win being in '98, which is a hell of a long time ago now. So, yeah. Well, it tells me Red Bull will still definitely be up the top. No matter what happens, they'll definitely still be contenders. I just hope Ferrari, Lotus and Mercedes can sort of level the playing field a little bit for the time being. Oh, also another little rumour. I wouldn't say it's a rumour, but Lotus team boss Eric Boullier says Sauber's Nico Hülkenberg is a candidate to drive for them in 2014. Yeah, but so is a lot of other people, I suppose. But I wouldn't mind seeing Nico in a Lotus. It's about time he had a decent drive. As much as I'm biased towards the Brits, I would rather see Hülkenberg than Di Resta in a Lotus. But there you go. And also the newspapers trying to screw over Hamilton as usual. Well, they try to screw over everyone, really. Because Hamilton was reported of saying that Wimbledon champion Andy Murray has an easier job than him because it's just him and his racket, whereas the Mercedes driver has more variables, more variables which affect performance to deal with. Which is true. I mean, it's... You know, he didn't mean it in a malicious way, saying, oh, winning Wimbledon's easy. It's bloody not, as we've proved over the last 77 years. But I in no way believe that Hamilton meant it that way. That's for sure. To which he later tweeted, "Don't believe what is written in the papers. What Andy Murray has done is spectacular and I'm so happy for him." And he's a big fan. So, yes, as usual, the papers do like to drill down on a few words that are said over a whole interview. Because they are vultures, basically. That's all the newspapers are, and that's why I never buy papers. Get all my news online anyway, so... I'd like to hear both sides of the story rather than the newspaper just drilling down to certain bits that someone has said. and turning people against people for no reason. Just to sell a few papers. But there you go. Shit happens. And the young drivers test is next week, which I didn't realise. I wondered why I hadn't heard any real news on it until the failures at the British Grand Prix at the tyres. Because I thought they would have been doing a young drivers test around Silverstone, but then with the German Grand Prix, like a week after, then I suppose that was a bit would have been a bit stupid, seeing as they had to arrive in Germany around what, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday at the start of the week, get everything set up. So yeah, young drivers test definitely next week. 3 days, not 4 that some people have speculated, because of the extra testing of the tyres that needs to be done. But obviously it's not just a young drivers test, because now the current race drivers are allowed to actually do some testing as well, apart from Mercedes, of course, who to be honest might even end up running behind it because of what they did a couple of months ago with Pirelli tyre testing scandal thing. You know, they were testing 2013 construction tyres, not 2012 construction tyres, like they're going to be testing in the young drivers test, so they may end up being at a huge disadvantage. So, well, we'll only be able to see the results of the testing and the young drivers test maybe around Spa, Italy time, because I don't think the tyres will be that much different, as I still fuck up on the last lap. Yeah, I don't think the tyres will be that much different in Hungary, although technically they will be 1 grade softer than last year's tyres, thanks to the softer compound. But you know, it's just going to be, it is quite an unpredictable season. Although I do feel that Red Bull are pretty much on top no matter what happens, with the others are sort of fighting behind them, sort of getting in front now and then, but still having Red Bull with the advantage, as they usually do. They always manage to pull something out of somewhere. So yeah, it is nice though not being able to predict how good cars are actually going to be, even if it is down to tyres. Just keeps that mystery going, rather than having someone just sitting at the front all the time. But still, there we go. We'll see how things go in the next couple of months. But I'm going to come through now to take my win. Only 1 car is retired, which is not too bad. But I told you I felt good about this race in the last video I did, so yeah, I was confident I was going to win that. I had a pretty good setup, so okay.
Well done on a fantastic win. Well done.
Yeah, so I ended up about 2.8 seconds ahead of Grosjean, even after I messed up on the last lap. So that was good. And yes, Jenson Button made his way up to 5th as well, so that's 10 points, 35 points for the constructors, which is, to be honest, the main one I'd want to concentrate on this year. But you can't really do much in the way of tactics. Charles Pic ended up retiring from that podium finish in Valencia. He ended up retiring this time round. There you go.
You remain top of the Drivers' Championship. You're still the man to beat.
So yeah, still in the lead, 23 points ahead of Nico Rosberg, so that's a pretty healthy gap. 2 race wins ahead of Grosjean, so they're alright. As long as Grosjean and Alonso Raikkonen can fight it out in front of Rosberg, that would be nice. More often, Jenson moves up to 10th with 26 points, so looking good. As I say, I wanted to concentrate on the constructors, but it's hard to do when the AI won't pass each other. If I could hold up the other cars, like I usually do, and allow Jensen to get past, that would be amazing. Let him be on the podium with me or something, you know. But anyway, be difficult. It's not all lost. We're 16 points behind in the constructors. Only 4 points behind Lotus, so it is pretty tight at the top. Starting to move away from Ferrari a little bit, seeing as Massa is not performing as well as he was doing in the first few races of the season. But never mind, still quite a long way to go. We're not even halfway point of the season. That's next time in Germany, so join me next time for round 10. I'll see you then.